Hello and welcome to the All the Pies podcast. We're here for the Brentford review. I'm Kev. That
Other way.
that is Davy. Our there, and we're going to be
Harris.
doing a review of the Brentford game upcoming. Can Newcastle United turn around the poor form? Can we put to bed on what is an important week, all of the issues we've had, and get back on track? Let's get into it.
God.
What's
Try
up?
again. I'm not going to be beaten by it, Davy. How?
God, he scored so many goals.
Good start. Good start.
We miss Si for some things.
I know. He's got all this stuff locked down.
He's the only one that knows
backside.
what he's doing with it.
I know. He's for all his bad points, he's a technical whiz kid, and we are not.
No, definitely not.
How are you keeping Davy? And anyways, you alright?
I'm alright. Waiting for me first, like grandson from me, the fruit of my own loins, kind of thing. I've got two lovely step grandchildren who call us Gravy, which is great. Grandad Davy, Gravy, it's brilliant. But I've got a little lad who was due Friday gone, and he hasn't bloody turned up yet. And I'm gonna end up missing either the Brentford game or the flaming match on Tuesday in Milan. I mean, I'm not going to Milan. I can't afford to go, but I'll have to say, "Oh, I'm not feeling very good. I need to go out and get fresh air for 2 hours or something." You know, if I'm down there on Tuesday night.
Well,
but
just
I'll constantly remind him for the rest of his life if I miss a match. Basically,
you took the words out of my mouth. I was just going to say, if you do miss a match because of him, you've got a whole lifetime for him to repay you for that. So,
my son,
congratulations in the pipeline.
My son Evan was saying that he was hoping he'd be out and settled and everything by now when he was going to take him to the pub himself on Tuesday to watch his first game, you know what I mean?
Have his first pint.
Probably.
So you got the baby grows in and that, the black and white baby grows.
It's the first thing I got as soon as we heard.
So
black and white scarf, everything.
Does your son live around these parts? Or
no. This is the thing. I've got to go down to bloody Walsall. He lives in Walsall now. He gave up his season ticket and everything, gutted, but he's got a life down there now, you know. So he's happy. He's doing loads of stuff and wherever he just misses the football. So
well, I was going to say you don't want the Ben supporting whoever it is around there.
No.
Walsall, and I thought, well,
his mom's a converted Newcastle United fan as well. So it's all sorted. Didn't worry about that.
Love to hear it. No, well, I hope that all goes well. And you don't look old enough to be a granda like Davy. What's your secret? My secret.
Constant
it's the mohawk in it. It's the mohawk in it.
The mohawk. Constant stress. Constantly feeling ill. And I don't know. I think I must just. I don't know. I didn't. Just one of them things. People say I look younger than I am, but I feel about 95. So
I look about 95 with me missing teeth and everything. I'm like gone grey. I've got missing teeth. I'm like, as soon as I turned 40, it just all went downhill. It was
tell us about it.
I've had a funny old week actually, Davy. I nearly threw up on all of my bosses. A room full of all of my bosses.
Oh, lovely.
Well, nice, I was at work and a lot of the top bosses were in, and we've got a bit of a charity thing going on at work, and we're trying to find different ways to raise money. And we did this bush tucker trial thing where people had to pay for forfeits, and it was meant to be amongst all the big bosses, and I was just in there as the chef. And it was basically they had this menu, and there was just all kinds of disgusting contraptions. And somebody turned around and says, "Oh, I'll pay 20 quid for the chef to eat the next set of meals." I was like,
"Oh, what was this?"
The first one, right, started off sounding all right. It was like a Scotch pancake, and it had an onion ring. No, sorry, a pineapple ring. But then it had loads of mayonnaise and a big pile of curry powder on it. And I'm a bit of a cockly bloke, you know, like. I'm like, didn't take much for us.
That
And like,
doesn't sound much that like. I don't think I would have bothered too much with that like.
well, that's what I thought. I thought it's not too bad, but it went in my mouth, right? I went in my mouth, right? And everybody else did like troopers, you know what I mean? Like, didn't let it show, right? And I was chewing it, right? And I, when you get it, they all went, oh! And I thought, right, I'm going to be sick on them here. So
Shouting for Huey.
I bolted up, right? I bolted up. I thought I'll turn around this way and I'll keep my dignity by doing it that way. And like I was like a bit sick into this cup, and I realised I had like a screen behind them, and the rest of the country's managers were watching online, just pointing and laughing. I thought, oh well, this is great, but that wasn't the end. I had to have the dessert as well, which was ice cream, broccoli, and vinegar. And it was predominantly vinegar and ice cream. I mean, there was loads of vinegar in there. And again, yeah, that was the cherry on the top. The lot came out.
No. Aye.
So that's how my week went. Aye.
Shouting for Ralph and Huey.
Wasn't great. So I found out as well there's videos of it being leaked. Someone's had the mobile out and had a video of it. So not an ideal week work-wise. But did you, before we get into this one as well, did you watch the match last night?
I didn't. I can't be arsed with it. I honestly cannot be arsed watching England. You know what it is? I watched a film about Van Gogh instead. That's how much I'm into England at the minute. I watched
Culture.
Finding Vincent instead, and I just loved it. I mean, I last watched that, and I literally cannot be arsed watching England. It just bores the hell out of us. And I used to support Scotland more than England when I was a kid, but I just couldn't be bothered with it. I literally just could. To be honest, now, Kev, I only really enjoy watching Newcastle. There's the odd game I'll watch, you know, but most of them I either hate watching them or I just get bored. I like watching some of the lower league games and stuff if I can catch them. You know, I think there's more going on in them, and looking for players who might be coming through and who will, you know. But now we're not looking lower leagues; we're looking higher than that. So I don't even bother with that anymore. But
people who watch this will know that we're not the greatest fans of international football. But last night it was actually a pretty good game. I can't lie. I mean, Scotland weren't very good, but I just wanted to say Jude Bellingham, what a player he is.
He's a good player. Like,
what a player, 20-year-old. God.
I nearly watched it when I heard Trippier was playing, but I just thought if I watch it, he'll get injured, and I'll just that'll be it, you know. And I just thought, no, if Anderson had been playing, I probably would have watched it.
Yeah, and he played left back. Trippier played left back last night.
Yeah. Well, you know, he could do that for us as well.
Exactly.
Especially, you know, with Livramento, but then we've got Hall and that. But we're going to talk about all that stuff.
Well, that seems like a perfect time to get into it. But before we do, Davy, are you ready?
I think I might be.
Are you sure you're ready?
I might be. Aye.
Are you ready?
Okay, let's go.
Nah, I'm never ready for that.
Okay, let's go. Love that little kid.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant.
So, it's been an international break, and you missed the Premier League, but it's back this Saturday. The game that got moved to the Saturday evening. We entertain Brentford, and this is going to be our official preview. Generally, when we do these sort of things, we'll get stuck into the head-to-head first. So what I'll do is I'll hopefully be a little bit better at my technology this time. We'll bring up some of the head-to-heads, and we'll have I'll give it a little run-through of the past games, because there's plenty to unpack, actually.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a little bit of a chat about sort of what sticks out about these. So in the Premier League era, we'll sort of start around here. Now, the first game we played them in the Premier League was an absolute cracker. It was actually Eddie Howe's first game in charge, and it ended 3-3. So I remember Jamal Lascelles, he opened the scoring with a header to make it 1-0. Tony had hit that shot, didn't he? I think it was Darlow that was in, and he absolutely dropped a clanger with it and parried it into his own net.
Yeah.
Rico Henry scored a header at the back post to make it 2-1. Joe Linton, he made it 2-2 with a shot drilled into the bottom corner. And a deflection off Lascelles from Onyeka. Now, I think that was an own goal, actually, because I don't think it was going on target.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it went down as an own goal, but that made it 3-2. And then Maxi scored that one at the back post to make it 3-3. And it was an absolutely cracking game. Can you remember that one?
I do. I mean, I wrote a thing about how I'm not very good at remembering matches and how I kind of watch them, dissect them, talk about them and everything like that. And then I move on to think about the next one. And I struggle to think about what's gone on. And there's matches that, I mean, I've been into football my whole life for as long as I can remember. But it's just one of those things where, and I realized a couple of years ago, and I thought that's how I need to live my life. Where I literally like watch the match in the moment and then move on. And I focus on what's coming and in the match as it's happening and all that kind of stuff, and then talk about it immediately after, and that's it. So you saying those things, I can vaguely remember, and I was there. I was at all the games, but I remember it being a back and forwards kind of game where they just went for it, and there was that new sort of hope that we had, and people trying to impress Eddie Howe and all that sort of stuff. Was that the one where what do you call him was sent off?
No, that was
that after that.
That was the next game, actually. The next time we played them was at Brentford. It was Josh De Silva. Go on. She doesn't want to be on YouTube. It's the ghost of Whitley Bay opening the doors again. I'll whistling Willie. So no, it was Josh De Silva that got sent off for a horrible tackle on target in the reverse of that fixture that season.
Right.
It was just outside the box, wasn't it? And originally it was just a free kick, and it was one that went to VAR, wasn't it? And
that's right.
When they looked at it, it was a naughty tackle. I mean, to be fair to Target, he got up and just got on with it, but it could have been a very different way because his ankle went over and everything. It was a horrible tackle.
It was was it one of those, if I remember, where if his foot had stayed planted on the grass, he probably would have had a really bad injury, but his foot came up, I think, just at the right moment.
Yeah, sort of. So if that's his foot there, he kind of rolled it a bit, and it looked bad on it because he thought, "Oh God, you can do your ankle ligaments doing it like that." Luckily, he was all right. But yeah, I mean, that was quite. If I remember right, it was quite early the sending off in that one. That was the game done, really. I remember Fraser had a class game that game as well. I remember because it was towards the end of the season.
Who?
Fraser, yeah, remember him? We used to play years ago. I think he plays for the under-23s now. But
he's smaller than all the under-23s.
He is. Well, he was playing on the left. He actually put the cross in for the first goal in that game, which was a Joe Linton header, and a bullet header it was as well.
Yeah.
And we scored not long after that as well. I remember Wood. He kind of getting into a little bit of a tangle with the defender and broke through, played in Joe Willock, and he put an absolute storm and finish into the top corner. So, and we won that one 2-0. And I remember it was towards the end of the season. I thought to myself, "Oh, pretty tasty there." And then we played them at St James's Park last season. Absolutely mint game again. We absolutely trounced them 5-1. There was goals for Murphy, Almiron, Gamores had a brace. I think it was a Pinnock own goal, wasn't it, for the last one? Joe Linton crossing.
I think you're right, yeah.
And then I think it was, it was Tony that got the penalty for them, wasn't it, just before half time?
That's right, aye.
Can you remember that? Any fond memories of that game? Because that was one of the few games, I've seen one of the few games, there was a few where we really stuffed teams last season, and I remember thinking to myself, "Whoa, we've got a team on our hands here."
Yeah, that was one of the ones where we knew they were going to go for it, but we kind of went for it more than they did. There was an incident, if I remember quite early on in the game, where Tony got away and didn't he score, and it was brought back for him. It was like, I think he scored, but there was somebody was offside, and sort of interfering with the play as the ball came through to him. Something along those lines. And that goal was chalked off. And I was like, we've got to be wary about these. But I think we went straight up the other end and scored like a couple of minutes straight after that. But that could have been a very different game if that because I remember them taking a while, and it was I think the ball had come past the player who was offside, and I don't think he touched it, but they deemed that he was interfering with play, which he was. I think he stepped over the ball, but so it was brought back, and then we went straight up and scored. But that was a real warning. I remember that, and then we just destroyed them after that. Yeah,
we did.
I do remember that one. Yeah.
And the last time we played them away, I mean, that's what this one is, pretty fresh in the memory. I remember, I mean, they were battering us the first half.
We were poor first half, yeah.
They were
really quick, yeah.
They got that one that was disallowed for offside, and then was it Botman that absolutely took down? It might have been Buemo possibly, and then they got the first penalty, and Ivan Toney missed it, didn't he? The first penalty.
That's right. There was the penalty incident. That's right.
And then they got a second penalty. When it went to VAR, it was a handball, which I didn't think was really.
Which I didn't think was against Wilson, wasn't it?
That's right. Wilson at the time was saying, well, "Where do you want your arms by my side?"
Yeah, exactly.
See how quick he hit it at him.
I know it was just a ridiculous decision, I think, but yeah. But thankfully, we came back and we were a different team second half. Like
it was also the first time that he decided to play Isaac and Wilson together.
Yeah,
and Joe Linton scored in that one as well. He's got a habit of scoring against Brentford, so he may be going on the betting slip for Saturday because he does like to score against them.
I remember that. I remember Isak playing out wide and kind of coming inside, and he was really tricky for them. I don't think they could handle him, and of course Wilson just picks up those positions, and you've got. When we're on the game as we were, second half, we were a different team. But that was the last time that Brentford were beaten at home. I think they're now 17 games or something, 17 or 18 games unbeaten at home. But they've had loads of draws. They've lost quite a few points, which, is one of those things that I'd like to kind of touch on when we talk about the match coming up, but... Yeah, we're the last side to beat them down there.
Yeah, I mean, well, and the takeaway I get from these meetings is that there's not a bad game in them. They're entertaining games to watch. Whether you're a Brentford fan, well, must be for the 5-1, or a Newcastle fan, throughout the game, there has been swings in the game, and they're really entertaining to watch. And I'm not expecting Saturday to be any different. So that's my first takeaway from that. I think we're in for an exciting game based on the past.
They just go for it. They just seem to really go for it. But the thing about the way that we played against them second half last season and the way we played against them in the other couple of games, it just seemed that we had more about us to contain them and more about us in terms of going forward and creating stuff. But I think they've now got the highest expected goals as well so far, because they just seem to create loads and loads of chances. They just go for it. It's like a basketball game when you play them,
And they're a team I quite like as well. I don't have a problem with Brentford. I mean, you mentioned about the home form, that G-Tech arena, the community, is it G-Tech Community Stadium?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's for all it's not a massive ground, they have made it a little bit of a fortress there, haven't they? In Brentford, I remember when they first came up, we're a team I think a lot of people expected to probably go straight back down again. Now, look, they don't seem to have any worries about relegation, and although sometimes you think, could there be a team that slip away? Like kind of when I look at someone like Wolves, where Wolves were up there in that sort of Brentfordish area, and it looked like they might have pushed on, and actually seem to have been dragged back down into that mire a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
There is always that question mark about Brentford to say, like, are they going to keep a hold of the likes of Tony and Buemo and Shard and the likes of them? If they do keep those players, I think they're a team that can probably build and sort of be in that top 8 conversation in the next couple of seasons to come.
I mean, when they came up, I think they made a very shrewd signing. He's not there anymore, but they bought Pontus Jansson from Leeds, and Jansson wasn't quick. You know, he wasn't the type of defender that managers were looking for. But he was the kind of defender who would just get the job done and steady the ship kind of thing, you know. And with him in the defence, and the midfield was decent, and then you've got the pace of Tony and Mbeumo like up front, and that's what it was. But I spent a year and a half down living when I first went to university in Twickenham, and the closest team there was Brentford, and I never went. I wish I had. I never, because I was playing football myself for the university, so I never had an opportunity to really go. But the guy, there was an old guy. He was about 61. I mean, I say old guy now. I'm just a few years off that myself now, but he was like one of the warders, you know, at the university, and he was a Brentford fan, and I was like 19 when I first went there, and Brentford was one of those teams that you knew existed, but you knew absolutely nothing about because they'd never, in my time, they'd never done anything. So we'd have a bit laugh and carry on with this guy and all that, you know. But I always remembered him and thinking, bloody hell, you know, Brentford are finally, and I hoped, I mean, it's like, it's 34, 35 years on now, so that guy will be in his 90s if he's still alive, but I remember thinking, I hope he's still alive and seeing Brentford get into the Premier League, but chances are he probably didn't. But you know that it's that kind of little affinity and thinking you like clubs like that coming up. And if they play good football, good luck to them. You know, they don't stifle teams. They don't try and stop teams from playing. They just have a go, and I like that. That's what football is about for me.
Yeah, and I'm not mad on London clubs. Just for one reason or another, I spend a little time living in there, probably due to rivalries and stuff like that. But I do have a little soft spot. Got a little soft pot of all the pies I've been eating.
I've got one, you know.
Yeah, a little soft spot for Brentford. And yeah, I think that brings me nicely on to their current form. So we'll have a little look at their current form, because when I look at it, I find it quite interesting, and there's a couple of reasons why I do. So if we look here, the results, has he got the technology right? Yes, he has. So yeah, their opener was against Tottenham Hotspur. They got a 2-2
draw, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was a good game actually. I watched that game. It was a really decent game. They then went on to beat Fulham 3-0. I remember seeing that result and thinking to myself, "Oh, actually, that is a good result away from home."
Of course
to
it
Fulham
is.
3-0, and they beat them quite convincingly. I remember as well. It wasn't
that's kind of the, apart from QPR, who won in the Premier League, that's their closest. I'm sure that's their closest derby.
Is it?
I think it is Fulham, yeah. But so that's a big game for them to win, and you know. But
well, I mean, they effectively had 3 derbies off the trot, didn't they? Tottenham Hotspur, Fulham, and then a 1-1 draw with Crystal Palace, which I think I had that on my Super 6 that week as well. It's something about that game screamed out a 1-1.
Yeah.
And then the last game they had was the 2-2 draw with Bournemouth. Now, undefeated and not too dissimilar in terms of results to what Newcastle United were doing this time last season.
The thing is, Kev, that last game, you just briefly mentioned and said it was 2-2. Thing is, that could have been like 7-2 to Brentford. You know, the amount of times they come close to scoring and hitting the bar, the post, or whatever, they were just all over them. And somehow they ended up finding themselves 2-1 down. And then, was it a penalty at the end, or Mbeumo scored, I think, in about the 93rd minute
Mbeumo
or something.
Mm-hmm.
But he scored 4 goals so far, so he's doing all right. I like him. He's a player I would quite like to have gone for, to be honest. Like,
well, they do like a late goal, Brentford, and that's something we need to be aware of because we do like conceding a late goal as well. I think we've showed in previous games that we can be a little bit lapsed at the end of games, so we need to keep an eye on that. And what you were saying there kind of runs nicely into my other sort of take on this form here. Like you said in the Brentford game, it could have been 7-2. Well, the reason it probably wasn't is that you're missing somebody to do the right finish. If you put Ivan Toney in these games, are these draws going to start turning into wins? Because when you're getting a lot of draws like that, it means you're sort of running that tightrope. It's either going to go one way or the other, isn't it? Do these draws start turning into defeats, or does it start turning into wins? Now, for me, when you've got a player the caliber of Toney that's waiting, I know it's January until he comes back, but when he comes, he's going to walk straight back into that team. I think they'll be all right at that stage. But I look at these and I think to themselves, had they had an Ivan Toney in these games, a lot of these might have been actual wins. So is it a case that they're doing well because Toney isn't in there, or do you feel like they probably should have went into the market and maybe had a look at another striker? Because I'm the same as you. I think Mbeumo's absolutely great, but he's not that same clinical finisher that Toney is. He doesn't influence the game in the box the same way.
The thing that's weird about them, the 3 players that they've been playing up front is Mbeumo plays kind of on the right and comes inside, and you sometimes find him in the centre forward position. And you've got Shorter, is it Shorter or Shorty? Shorty was the singer from the 80s. Like,
I was going to say that. Aye, I'm sure he used to be a singer.
Kevin, she wasn't called Kevin. She wasn't called Kevin.
Never know.
I kind of think of any top singers that were called Kevin. Like, I just kind of think of any.
Kevin Keegan. He started karaoke at some stage. Kevin Costner.
No, he had a single, didn't he? Kevin Keegan.
He did. So there we go. I'll say that.
But the thing is you've got Mbeumo and Shard or Shardy and Wissa or Vissa, however it's pronounced. They are all officially midfielders. Mm-hmm. They're not even down as strikers. And to me, I think that might tie into how they kind of play, where they're very fluid. They play 4-3-3, but sometimes they look like they're playing 4-4-2 because one of those forward players comes and sits back in. But then sometimes it looks like they've got 5 across with one guy kind of playing, again, not even really as a striker, but almost as a false striker. But it's because they've got so much pace, they're allowed to do that, and they pass and move very, very well through the team. And the midfielder, what's that midfielder called again?
Norgard, aye, yeah.
Norgard, everything seems to come through him in the middle for me. I mean, they've got a couple of decent players. They've got like Rico Henry, who plays at left back, and he's really fast. I don't think he's the best defender, but he's really fast coming forward, and he links the play up a lot as well. And for me, that's basically what they do. It's like they build from deep, and then all of a sudden you think you're okay, and then you've got 3, 4, 5 people running at you really fast, and they seem to cut across. They seem to come inside a lot, and they haven't really changed from what I've seen of them. They haven't really changed their style, because Toney used to come quite deep as well, and making decent runs. So they're difficult to pick up because you don't know where your centre halves kind of pick a position, but if they're coming deep, they're almost running free, and they just seem to run into that space, get the ball, bang, and they're away. And that they are difficult to play against when they're on song and
they're well drilled as well, Davy, aren't they?
Yeah.
I really like their manager. He just seems to be a proper coach. He's he says the right things, and not too dissimilar in a way to our manager Eddie Howe. He seems like a manager who really gets the best out of the players that he's got. Doesn't stand for any nonsense. Always seems to say the right thing. He always comes across really well when he's in front of a camera. And I think if they can keep a hold of him, and he seems to really have an affinity for the club as well. You get some managers, not who can't wait to be away. I'm not going to name any names. Graham Potter. You know what I mean? Where you've got a decent little setup and you think these could move on to the next stage. And it's important to keep the pieces of the jigsaw in place, not having to replace them. Now, if they keep that manager there, I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them to keep a hold of Ivan Toney, especially some of the noises he's making in the press and stuff, already talking about where his next clubs could be. I mean,
I'd like to go for him. I'd like to bring him to Newcastle. I think he's a good player. The only thing against him is he's getting to that back age. Is he 28 or something? 27,
yeah,
28.
He's not getting any younger. I mean, he's still got plenty of good years ahead of him, man.
But I mean, we need a strike. We're going to need a striker because we've only got 2 strikers, and he's a player. I think he's got everything on his day. I think he's brilliant. But the other thing about them as well is they've got 2. They've got 2 centre halves who are basically no nonsense centre halves, and they just seem to do the job. I mean, they're not players that you would think would get into like most other top teams. Pinnock and Ben Mee, and I think Ben Mee was carrying an injury coming into the start of the season, but he has played a couple of games. But
he did have a knock. I think it was his thigh, wasn't it? He had a
something like that. But they're
Ben
both.
Mee, sorry, go on.
They're both decent centre halves. They're that kind of like meat and drink centre half that teams want, but they seem decent on the ball. I mean, they're not brilliant on the ball, but
Ben
they're
Mee,
okay.
He flirted with the international scene, didn't he? He wasn't far off the England setup, and I think with Ben Mee it's about consistency, isn't it? With Ben Mee, you see some games and you see him playing, you think, oh God, he does look like an international defender, him. And then you can see other things, and when he makes the odd mistake, you think to yourself, that's the problem, isn't it? It's the actual consistency. I think a little bit could probably be said the same about the other one, Pinnock, as well. He's a really good, decent defender. He's a bulky lad. He's strong, but he is prone to a mistake. I mean, look at the own goal he scored against. Scored for us when Joe Linton put that cross in. Yeah, it was a cross that needed to be dealt with. But I think somebody else I know you're getting beat 4-1 at that stage. Somebody else who tries to put a boot through it. It was just like left a leg out, didn't he? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know all defenders can get that. But the reason I say is I think this is something where they might get a little bit unstuck against us on Saturday.
That's what I'm hoping. Yeah, you look at the pace that we've got. Whoever we put up front, we need them to gel. We need to get the ball further up the field and not just playing long ball. We need the passing to be right from the midfield and from the back to get to the wingers, to get, because it's just not been happening the last couple of games for reasons that we've discussed already, but I think if they are going to go for it, which to me means that they are going to leave gaps, and that's how I'm hoping that we will exploit those gaps that they leave behind. But then you've got to have all of the defenders on song. They've all got to have decent games. You just got to be wary of their pace coming forward, But yeah.
So I mean, so it looks like the ones to watch on this one are definitely Shard and Buemo, Norgard, Wissa. Yeah, I think that's what I would probably say.
And the other one as well. I mentioned Neil Maupay's come back to Brentford because he came from France and he joined Brentford when they won the championship, and he scored loads of goals for them, and he did really, really well. But then he ended up going to Brighton, so then he hasn't done very well at all at Everton. But I don't think anybody would struggle at Everton at the minute, the way things are going. And he's come back on loan, and the shout is basically like welcome home, and this is the place you should be, and we want you here, and all that. Now, that's going to give him some confidence. I don't think he's going to be starting, but he, on his day, is a decent player, and we've got to be wary if didn't he score 2 goals against us for Brighton a couple of seasons ago. But on his day, he's a decent player. So, you know, there's another one that's there, because he's the only like actual forward I think that they've got. So you don't know. He might end up playing. He might start. You don't know.
Yeah, he very much might. I mean, we'll move on to predicted lineups. We'll not spend too much about the Brentford ones because we could be a million miles off. But we'll certainly go a bit in depth about what things going to happen, because it will blend in nicely with any injury news as well. So, let's touch on the injury news first of all. So, from a Brentford perspective, seems to be just Josh Da Silva. Ben Mee might be a little bit 50-50. But Josh Da Silva, he's got a hamstring injury. He's been ruled out. Obviously, Ivan Toney's in the bookies. He'll not be back until January. And whereas I think it's a little bit more to go into with ourselves, because there's been a couple of knocks over the international period. So, I mean, we've still got the ongoing injuries to Joe Willock, Emil Kraft with the ACL. Look, is he ever going to get back?
Well, he was back training.
He's
been back training. Kraft's back training this week, but I don't think he'll be in the team for a while. Yeah, but he is back training. Yeah.
Yeah, ACLs, man. They're just. Some players never come out the same, so it'll be interesting to see, because he was in good form before he picked up his injury as well. He was perfect cover.
Well. Yeah.
The two big ones from our perspective that happened over the international break. First was Elliot Anderson. I was really disappointed because I wanted him to get his first cap for Scotland last night. I know, he's still young, and if you've got a young player who's your backup getting international caps, it's really good for the confidence.
Yeah,
it can only be a positive thing. So I was really disappointed when I heard that he picked up a knock. Doesn't look that. I don't know. Would you risk something like that? Would you? I don't think you would. So there's talk of like he might be okay for the game, and
I don't know. I mean, I think it, because there's obviously somebody else that's got a more than a knock, a muscle problem apparently, who's been to hospital, which is Tonali. And but I think if Tonali's missing, then Longstaff's straight in to replace him. But we've got the problem with Almiron they reckon it might have just been cramp, but he looked, I saw the pictures and that, he didn't look clever at the end of the first game, but he started the second game. So hopefully he'll be all right. But I'm thinking, if he's getting cramp and all this, is it time for to either play Murphy or to play Gordon on the right-hand side, which is what I would go for. And then you're looking into what Joelinton's like in Bruno coming back. Apparently they put a private jet on to get all three of those back together like a day earlier than they would have been, so they can get into the camp tomorrow and get training again, have 2 days, together with the group before the match on Saturday, which I think, that's the kind of thing that we can do now. I mean, the old owner wouldn't have done anything like that. He would have, Shanks Pony, they would have had to been looking to come back on if it was him. So I don't know what Joelinton's like, because I don't think, did he play?
I'm not sure. I've seen little bits and pieces on social media. By all accounts, Bruno had a really good game. Was really sort of dictating the passing. Played some good passes through. I'm not sure if he got an assist. I think he possibly did.
He did in the first game. And I was talking to a mate of mine, and he said he had 47 out of 47 completed passes. He had 100% completed passes. But the thing is, it was against Bolivia. So how good are Bolivia? Are they like an equivalent of playing against like a League One team sort of thing? The Premier League equivalent sort of thing. I don't know, but either way, it's a positive. if he, because one of the things that we need to get him back into is his passing and his movement,
confidence.
And exactly, and he got. I saw the goal. I saw the little flick on that he put on for the goal, which was just pure Bruno, and he got himself on the edge of the box for to flick the ball through, and just those stats. You think, yeah, is he getting back to it? Now, I wondered, has it got anything to do with the fact that he's had this these contract talks and stuff, which seem to have apparently gone well recently, and it looks like he's nearly going to sign. It could affect the player in terms of how he plays and confidence and all that kind of stuff, up in the air as to what's happening, especially as there were supposed bids in for him as well at the back end of the window, and he didn't have a pre-season. He basically played for him and Joelton, played for Brazil. He's still got that knock, which we talked about last week. So hopefully this has done him the world of good. But having 2 games Saturday, and then it's not just like a little piddly game on Tuesday night, it's the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? So what does he do? Does he rest a couple of players and keep them for next Tuesday? Or, does he want to go with just his favoured side and try and start the same ones? I don't know.
Well, let's get into it. Let's talk about let's talk about what we decided to do, and I think it's good. Sometimes what we'll do is we'll go with what we would pick, us being the footballing geniuses that we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hoping that the Premier League team will come in and go, "Hey, him with the missing tooth, he knows what he's on about. I'll sign him up."
I've got a missing tooth somewhere there. Where's it there as well?
That's it. Well, what's that Shakespeare play? Well, they're sharing the eye and the tooth and everything. The soothsayers, we like that.
Macbeth.
But yeah, yeah, and I think well, let's go. I'll go through mine first. I'll go through what I would do, and then you give us yours, Davey. So
right.
Yeah, I think we'll stick with Pope and goal. Trippier, it's an easy shoe-in. Botman, if he's back, I think he probably is going to be back. He's had this period of rest. I was just having a look online before there, so all the noise seems to be that they're expecting him hopefully to be back. So it will be him and Shaw. That would be me centre backs, and he has one for you. I'll have a little look at Lewis Hall.
That's what I would do. I would. I'd play him. I would do exactly the same. He's been away with the under-20s on a training camp. He came to us. He didn't have any proper pre-season with Chelsea at all, which is ridiculous. So he wasn't fit. But hopefully this training camp that he's been at, and he hasn't played games, he's been, learning bits and bobs and getting fitness. Hopefully he's going to come back. The problem is, I mean, I'm kind of like thinking of like in the way that Eddie Howe does. Do you want to play a defender who's not played forward before, who wasn't fit enough to, to be considered really for the other games that we've already been involved in, and he's been away during the break, so he hasn't even been training with the first team while others have been away. He's been away. And I thought that Eddie Howe might have asked him for to stay. But obviously he's not going to stop him going away in a training camp within the 20s, because it's that he wants to play for them as well. And that's how I think Eddie Howe will be thinking, and that's kind of how I'm thinking. Everything being well, I would give him a go, but I'm just worried about the fact that he hasn't trained with the team properly.
Well, my thoughts on it. I think I agree with you. I think that's definitely how Eddie Howe's going to be thinking, and I think that's why Eddie Howe's probably going to pick Dan Burn at left back if Botman and Shaw both fit to play in the centre back.
But yes, well, there's that. But the other option, and as I said, I didn't watch it, but we've got Livramento. Now, Livramento, if he played on the right, you could play Trippier on the left or vice versa. I don't know whether Livramento would play on the left or whatever, but he's an option,
He is. I watched the game last night, and Trippier didn't have a bad game at left back. He was certainly involved with the game. He linked up really well with Rashford, actually, not too dissimilar in a way that he links up with Almiron on the right hand side. So it's definitely an option. I just think he's just really solid forward in that right back position. And if you did put him out on the left, and it didn't go your way, you'd have people turn around and go, "What was he thinking? What was he doing?" He's played on the right so well all that time. So I just don't think that's a gamble he would take. I don't think he'll take the Lewis Hall gamble either, if I'm being quite honest. But that's what I would do because, like you said, you've got this big game coming up on Tuesday. Now he could go in there and be absolutely outstanding, and Eddie Howe's going, "Lovely, brilliant. Look at that left back we've got ready for Tuesday night." Now the other time you're going to start playing these things, and this is something I've been thinking about recently as well. So let's say, all right, well, we'll just keep him for the game against in the Carabao Cup. Now, if we'd have been playing anybody else apart from Manchester City, you'd be looking and going, "Oh, great! It's a chance for them to get the teeth into some football." Now, what happens sometimes when you haven't played a player for a long time and on the outskirts, and then you put them into a game like that, and you're up against a Man City, it can kill the confidence as well, can't it? So I would like him to come in for this particular game. I don't think Brentford is a team that's going to be too difficult for him to play against. We've just paid 30 odd million for him. It's not like. It's not like he's a young'un that we're getting for future. Yeah, we are getting him for the future, but I feel like we're getting him for the present as well. So that would be my thoughts around putting Lewis Hall on. Plus, with Lewis Hall, I think he's just when we played Chelsea the last game of the season. For me, he was their best player. He was the one that really stood out. Really stood out on that left hand side, and especially in attacking impetus. I think he would be fantastic to sort of level out. If you've got Kieran Trippier dropping back, when you want Dan Burn to go forward, you don't really get it from him or to the standard that you want. Sorry, Dan Burn, I absolutely love you, but it's true.
Yeah.
I think he can give that outlet, which, on the left-hand side, him and Gordon.
Yeah,
Brentford would have many answers to that.
I totally agree, yeah. But, we'll see. But that's the reason why I think Eddie Hall probably won't play him is the same reason that I'm thinking, would you go with it? But,
Eddie
he's
Hall.
got a couple... Sorry, Eddie Hall. Eddie Howe, world's strongest man. It's because we're talking about Hall and Howe and Eddie's and all that, and I'm getting mixed up, man. But I'm getting old, man.
Getting old, man, Davy. Eddie Hall. I'd play Eddie Hall at left back. I don't see many people skinning him. But I'll move on to the midfield. The midfield, I think, is another massive talking point as well. So you've got I'll tell you what I'd do. I'd have Joe Linton, Bruno Guimaraes, and Longstaff. That's who I put in there. That's due to the injury to Tonali. I just don't think he's. Even if he was ready, I don't think you'd risk him.
No, I think he'd rather keep him for Tuesday. Yeah,
100%. Yeah. So I kind of see Tonali starting. The reasons were said for Bruno. He's had a good game, and I know there's a lot of talk about his form and like, does he need to be dropped? I don't think he does at the moment. I don't think we're there yet. He certainly needs a chance to turn it around.
Yeah.
And if anybody can, it's him. And yeah, for me, the other one has to be Longstaff.
I agree.
It just seems to be the obvious answer for that.
We have missed his balance that he brings to the side. Yeah, he does loads of work that he gets no credit for. I'd do the same. Yeah,
and I think Eddie Howe or Eddie Hall or any other Eddie would probably pick exactly the same. Eddie and Richie from bottom, they'd pick that midfield three. I think most people are going to be on the same hymn sheet with that midfield three, which I don't think we need to spend too much time on. I think it is the right decision. I think what's a little bit more interesting now is the front three. Now,
the only thing I'm thinking about the midfield though is if Elliot Anderson is okay with this knock, because we've got the Champions League on Tuesday and Joelton's been away with Brazil and he's looked a bit tired in the last. He hasn't looked, he hasn't had a proper pre-season. Would you play Anderson against Brentford and then keep Joelton for Tuesday?
If he hadn't had that knock in the week, I would totally entertain the idea. It just, with Premier League form needs to be turned around. So I think anybody who's like even 90%, 95%, he's not going to put in. He's just not going to do it because we need to turn around this Premier League form in this game. So I think he's going to be only picking 100% fit players. Now, Anderson might turn around and say, "Look, boss, I am 100%," which players do when often they're not. I mean, what you said makes perfect sense. You've got a more fit Longstaff for the game in AC Milan. But I cannot see a way that he's not going to pick those three. I mean, he'll probably do what you said now.
I'm just hiring that into the mix, really.
It's in the mix. It's in the mix. That might. I mean, we're going to get into the Tuesday game on the next video. I was about to go into it there, but I'll save it for the next one. I'll save it for the next one. But yeah, we'll go to 50 minutes. Let's move on to the front three because I think this is an interesting talking point. And I've been flip flopping in my mind what I would do. And bear in mind, I'm no tactical genius. That's why I'm no manager. But I'd be the easy one out the way. I'd be playing Isaac up front. And now I've went through a thing of, do I move Gordon onto the right and play Harvey Barnes on the left and give Almiron a rest? Do I play Gordon on the left, continue with Almiron on the right, or do I play Gordon on the left and bring Harvey Barnes on the right? And I've flip flopped between it, and I've tried to look at the pros and the cons. And I think what I've settled for is probably the same as what Eddie Howe's going to do. And that is the same front three: Isaac, Gordon on the left, Almiron on the right. Reason being,
go on.
Sorry, go on.
No.
Reason being, Almiron didn't have the best of games the last time we were out against Brentford, and he wasn't really that great against Liverpool, apart from that one where he hit the post. But I think this is the type of team where he can probably link up really well with Kieran Trippier on that right-hand side. He can use his pace, he can do a give and go, and he's probably going to get more joy in this game. It's in James's Park, and could this be a game for him to get his confidence back? But I think any combination of, so Isaac up front, any other combination, I would probably be happy with, but that's the one I've settled on.
Do you know what I'm thinking as well? Because I've thought of all the different things that you've said exactly the same. I've just got a sneaking feeling that he might, but again, it's Tuesday night. It's like, what does he do for Tuesday night? Is with that in the back of his mind? Because playing Wilson with Isak on the left and then Gordon on the right is another option. But the thing that you didn't mention there, I'm going to mention, is if he plays Isak and Gordon, then what I would do, instead of playing Barnes on the right, which I might be wrong, I've not seen him play on the right when he played for Leicester at all. But who I would play, and one of the reasons why I would play him, is what you've said. We mentioned Almiron. Looks like he had cramp the other day. He's been away. We've got 2 big games coming up. I would play Murphy. And one of the reasons why I would play Murphy as well is because Murphy gets up and down probably more than even Almiron, and Murphy can defend. I mean, he can get back and defend. So you've got likes of Rico Henry, who comes flying up that wing on their left side. I would have Murphy against him, and Murphy's probably the only player that we've got, other than Gordon. If you put Gordon's the fastest out of the whole lot of them. But I think Murphy would be a real threat against them, where it would keep him back, but then he can defend if he needs to, and it gives Almiron the rest whether he wants to play Almiron on Tuesday night. And I think Tuesday night is why he more than likely won't play both Isak and Wilson. I think he'll chop and change with them two again, and I think he'll go with what he's done. Start with Gordon and bring Barnes on, but he'll have been working with them both in training while everybody else has been away. So he might have been coming up with something completely different, you know. And could Barnes even play deeper in the midfield behind Gordon? Could he even do that?
Well, I mean, I had been thinking about this. You know, is he for this particular game? Is he maybe he's going to lean towards the players that he's had the extra training with this week that haven't been away on international duty? And I have thought of that, and you know, Barnes being one of them, and certainly Murphy being one of them. So you know, if I see Murphy's name on the team sheet on Saturday, I'm not disappointed by any means.
I like him. He gives 100%.
I like him. I like his character as well. I think he's a really likable lad.
Yeah,
and I think he's an underrated player. He scores some decent goals.
Definitely.
His play for Barnes's goal against Aston Villa, it was really astute where he cut in the middle and he played that lovely ball outside. And he's got that in his locker. He's not a greedy player neither. He's quite happy to roll the ball into other players. So we're starting to run out of time. What we're going to do, what we'll always finish these previews off with, is a little score prediction. So you've got to give us your score prediction and your scorers.
Hang on, I'm gonna give Ivan Tony a quick ring, see what he's betting.
I've already scored him. I saw him in Betfred earlier on. He gave us a couple of tips.
I'm gonna go for 3-1 to us. I think they'll score, but I think we'll come back and beat them. I don't know whether even if they score first, I think they're the kind of team that will just go for it anyway, and I think we'll beat them. I think 3-1.
Who's your scorers?
Oh, hang on. If I get this right and I don't put a bet on, I'll be kicking myself. Isak, I'm going to go for Gordon. Just those two. I think
who's getting
Isak could get a couple. Isak, and I think Gordon might sneak a one if he plays them.
Yeah. Well, I could be looking at this through my black and white glasses, because you know, if I was looking at this like as a neutral, I'd be looking at form and stuff like that and saying, oh, it could be a draw, it could be a 10-1. I'm also going 3-1 as well, though. I've just had a feeling 3-1. St. James's Park, I think they've got a point to prove now, and I think that the crowd's going to really be the cliche of the 12th man, but they're going to want them to win, and I can just see Newcastle United getting the form back. I'm going with a goal for Isak, a goal for Gordon, and Joe Linton, just because he always scores against Brentford. I'll have to put a Joe Linton on there, and maybe some Buemo popping up for them. So 3-1. So that's the common consensus then. Well, Davy, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for coming on. I'll probably see you at the match on Saturday night. Don't forget, guys, put your score predictions in the comments as well. We've always said whoever gets the score line and the scorers correctly will get a prize. Sai's got a prize. He hasn't told what it is. He probably doesn't know what it is yet. But you will get a prize if you get the scoreline and the scorers right.
Can we get a prize?
No. We get nothing. We get nothing. If you haven't already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. It'd be great if you can hit a like on the video as well, and get it sharing around with other like-minded fans. Anybody you think that might enjoy the video, please get it shared around. We're on the way to 1,000. It'd be lovely to get to 1,000 subscribers, and we'll do a special video, and it'll be like a massive moment for the channel. So if you could do that, that would be brilliant. Right, Davy, until the next time.
Aye, I might be a grander by then.
Might be a grander. All the best. And the next time we speak, we'll be looking forward to the Champions League. So, all the best to you and the family. And
you.
Come on!
Cow.